Welcome to Fit and Bold, where we promote healthy lifestyles. I'm your host, Lakita Goins. There is estimated to be a suicide committed every 14 minutes in the United States. Suicide can affect everyone, and there are many different reasons that it happens. Believe it or not, there are factors that are associated with suicide, and today we're going to learn more about those factors and about prevention. The hope is that if we can better understand suicide, then maybe we can help prevent it. So we're here today with Dr. Rhonda Maddox. She's the medical director for United Family Services. How are you today?
Very well, thank you for having me.
Okay, so in case people don't know, what is suicide?
So suicide is the intentional action of taking one's life, with the plan to end it and no longer be here.
Okay, so I want to ask about some of the different risk factors. So can we start with, does your family history play a role in suicide if there were other people that committed suicide in your family?
Absolutely, 100%. Suicide normally is committed by people who are depressed, and as we know, depression definitely has a genetic predisposition to contribute to suicide. The other piece is, just being aware, even if you did not know that a family member committed suicide, just having that history makes you more likely to attempt. The other piece is, sometimes the single most likely predictor of suicide attempt is a previous suicide attempt.
Okay.
And many times people will say, oh, she's just trying to get attention. But we cannot afford to attribute it to just an attention-seeking maneuver. Because even if it was just an attention seeker, what you consider just an attention seeker, that one incident makes them 20 times more likely, greater than actually 20 times more likely to actually complete the suicide. The other piece is any kind of substance abuse, drinking, recreational drug use increases the likelihood of completing suicide. The diagnosis of bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, more likely to complete suicide. Any kind of sexual abuse, exposure to violence or trauma, those kinds of things. Those are my top, probably my top 3 or 4 things that I look at is there a history of suicide attempt? Is there a history of sexual abuse? Is there a history of alcohol or recreational drug use? And the family history of depression,
Okay. So I like to watch a lot of History Channel, and they talk a lot about cults and other religious beliefs, and a lot of times those end with suicide. Can you talk a little bit about that cultural religious beliefs?
Well, I'll tell you, for Christians, many times the negative connotation of that we have with suicide is murder, or and you're going to go to hell, that can be preventive. The instance that it really is not is in people who have bipolar depression. Regardless of what their Christian affiliation is, they actually may be more likely to commit suicide despite reporting those kinds of things. I can't really speak to the Islamic belief. I know that there's literature out there suggesting that may be more common, but I'm not as familiar with that.
Okay, so what about internal feelings, like feeling hopeless,
Yes.
feeling like you don't connect with people? Does that play a role?
Helplessness, isolation from others, many times public humiliation, bullying, those kinds of things definitely can factor in. When you look at the people who actually attempt suicide, women are more likely to attempt suicide by poisonings and different things, but men are more likely to complete suicide by firearms. So when you look at the gender difference, but then the other piece is there's certain ethnicities that are more likely to commit. Native Americans, more likely to actually commit it. African Americans are less likely to commit it, but suicide is the third leading cause of death, particularly I think in the 15 to 24-year-old group.
Right.
And black males are actually catching up with white males in that group, and so so there's a lot of potential, but in the end, it really has to do with the individual. You know, we can predict, you know, but the real thing happens many times with just with what is going on in their lives right now.
Right.
Break up with a boyfriend, you know, loss of job, public humiliation, those kinds of things.
Okay, so, and I know, especially when you talked about African Americans, I know that sometimes there's like a stigma attached to asking for help, even if you know you have those feelings.
Right.
So
it's interesting because I will sometimes, and this is probably so politically incorrect, but I'm going to say it nonetheless.
Okay.
You know, I'll have people say, you know, I don't want people to think I'm crazy, you know, so they can think you're crazy and you really, really show them. Or you can get help and be a better you, and they have to suspect it. I mean, you can't live your life based on public opinion, or you're just going to be most miserable.
Okay, and this was another hot topic, physical illness, because they had the Dr. Kevorkian thing on for years, and talk about people who may have been diagnosed terminally ill or something like that and are wanting assisted.
Yeah. Many times when you learn that you have a diagnosis like HIV or Lou Gehrig's disease or something to where you feel absolutely out of control, you know, the thought is, I want to go gracefully and I want to go with dignity. And so that kind of stemmed up. In the United States, it is illegal. But what assisted suicide is basically another individual helping you to carry out this act. And that is actually as old as, I mean, we can see examples in the Bible where, you know, Saul is asking his armor bearer to kill him and the armor bearer won't do it, or, you know, different ones. And so it's nothing new, but it is definitely against the law. And so we're not seeing it as much, you know, or hearing about it as much these days.
Okay, now this was something I found disturbing, but I did read that it doesn't happen often. Suicide pacts.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Suicide pacts are basically when a few individuals have come together and agreed that they are going to end their lives either in a similar way or similar date or something like that. And in essence, it's, you know, I mean, kind of teenagers, I mean, it's what they do. I've actually been a part of an incident where a group of 10-year-olds had come up with this plan, and so, and you know, they were African Americans. Many times in the African American community, we think this is not a black thing, but you know, it does happen. It may not be as frequent, but it does happen, and so it's really important to arm yourself with the knowledge of how to, you know, identify kind of the risk factors and the signals that, you know, someone is really considering this.
Right, so if you see those signals, how, as a loved one or a friend, do you help someone that you see has possible suicidal tendencies?
Well, I'll start with what some of those signals may be before I answer that question. And that can be, you know, you hear people say, you know, you guys would just be better off without me. You know, you would be better off if I was dead. I wish I was dead. You know, nobody would even know that I was here. They may actually, you may notice on their arms that they've already kind of been cutting and doing some things. You may notice that they have just a complete change in their personality. They actually look depressed. You know, sometimes you can look at people and just tell their entire disposition. You know, this normally outgoing, bubbly person, now they're not, you know, so bubbly. And they, you know, may talk about, you know, on this day, or I'm going to do it this way. When that happens, you know, don't assume that they're attention seeking. The best thing that you can do, if you're a child, I would say, you know, to alert a responsible adult, a counselor, a teacher. You know, don't agree to keep this secret, because that's something that you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. And there's some secrets that you must, you know, it's not snitching. Right. This is being a responsible friend. And, you know, you've not seen pain until you've seen the pain of a child who realizes that they kept the secret of a friend who then went on to commit suicide. It's so painful to, you know, to manage. And so really, saying, I want to be a friend to you. Let me go to the doctor with you.
Right.
Not just saying make the appointment, because many times people who are even considering suicide, their energy is so low, they're so depressed, they're having so much difficulty just doing the day-to-day activities.
That extra step, maybe too much.
Right. If they call the doctor's office and they put them on the phone for to hold, it's not going to happen. And so just saying, let me escort you to the doctor's office, or something along those lines. But really being a friend and being confidential where you need to be confidential.
Right.
You don't want to humiliate the person by telling everybody, this.
Mm-hmm.
But really taking the extra step to get them help and accompanying them.
Okay. So we're out of town, but I want you to speak real quickly to the audience in case there's someone out there right now, they feel like they have no reason to live.
Mm-hmm.
Say something to them in this moment.
Well, I would say when my mother was pregnant with me, she attempted suicide.
Okay.
Obviously, she wasn't successful. She's gone on now to have, a son who's in ministry, who has, 4 grandkids, and I'm a physician. Had she been successful, she would have terminated all of that potential. What seems like, this is absolutely, nothing can be done. If you just give it another year, the next year your life looks completely different. So give it some time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Maddox. Audience, I hope you've taken something from this. This has been a great topic. So I want you to stay tuned and come back. Part of feeling good is eating good. So we're going to do our Friend Bo Healthy Recipe Pick. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Danny Andre Burrell II, a senior here majoring in industrial technology, management, and applied engineering. I thought that I would be looking for a job at this point, but thanks to my mentor, Dr. Charles Colin and Career Services, I was able to obtain a position as an industrial engineer upon graduation.
Danny worked hard in class from the beginning, obtaining 3 internships while on campus. UAPB can help prepare students like Danny for those same opportunities.
UAPB prepared me.
Wake the sun. Tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
Lead paint poisoning affects 1 million children today. If you're pregnant or have young children and your home was built before 1978, you could be at risk. Learn how to protect your family. To find your home's danger zones, the health effects, or just to find help, log on to leadfreekids.org.
Welcome back to Fit and Bold. Today we've been talking about suicide. Well, there are certain things that you want to avoid if you're depressed. And today's Fit and Bold Healthy Recipe Pick is a peach float. So if you are depressed, you want to avoid processed foods and canned foods. So you want to try to go for fresh foods. So when you go to the grocery store, here's your shopping list. You'll need, I'm going to use 1 peach for 1 serving, and it's a big one. Lemon juice. And in here I have some vanilla ice cream, but it's low sugar ice cream, and I've already put my ice cubes inside. The first thing you want to do is slice your peach. Well, the first thing you want to do is wash it, but I pre-washed. So then you want to cut it into sections, and then this is a preference. You may want to peel it, or it's perfectly fine to leave the skin on because it does have fiber and nutrients. So I am just slicing into quarters. And I'm just gonna go all the way around until I have my pit out. Now, there are things you wanna avoid if you're feeling depressed. You wanna avoid things like high sugar content. Caffeine has also been said to have negative side effects on depression. And you absolutely want to avoid alcohol. I know some people want to get a drink. I've had a rough day or I've had a rough time lately. But you want to avoid that because alcohol is a natural depressant. So I pretty much got my peaches cut up. So the first thing or the next thing I'm going to do is I have a blender here. I'm going to leave the skin on and I'm going to drop several slices in. I'm going to add my low sugar ice cream. And I already put my ice cubes in there. And it's okay that it's melted because it's going to be blended anyway. And I'm just going to use my knife to kind of get it all out. Now, for some things I measure, other things I don't. And I'm not measuring in this example. So you want to add a little lemon juice. And it's really to your preference because some people can't stand as much lemons as others. Now that is all your ingredients. I'm going to put my top back on my blender and I'm going to puree. Now you may have to stop it and you may have to shift the peaches around some to get it better situated. And they're starting to blend, so you may have to do that a few more times. This can also work with the food processor, and it probably works better if you're using bigger slices. Okay, so I'm gonna check it. I think I got one peach still hanging on. And it's okay to have larger chunks. This is a good dessert as well. And it is done. So you can see this is your blend and it is a nice dessert for you and it's really healthy. So you're ready to pour it and drink and you're gonna have it and it's gonna be a good taste. But what you want to do is remember, go for the fresh vegetables, the fresh fruits. You can even do quick things like smoothies. It takes less time and you can still eat healthy and feel better. If you avoid those fatty, greasy foods, all those add to depression. So you don't want to exaggerate it. Eating healthy cannot cure you of depression. Seek treatment when you need it, but it can certainly help you feel better overall. When we return, we're going to be doing our fit and bold healthy exercises, so stay tuned.
Kids will spend 8 minutes decorating their little brother.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes twice a day. They have the time.
Body language. Without saying a word, it can tell you so much. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time. Time to call 911 immediately. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Learn the body language, the sudden signs, and spot a stroke fast.
Welcome back to Fit and Bold. Today we've been talking about suicide. So we're here today with the Director of Recruitment, Mr. Chris Robinson. How are you today?
Doing well, Keita. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah. So you also used to play Golden Line football.
I sure did.
All right. So being a part of a team or feeling included is an important part of getting yourself mentally balanced and well-rounded. So tell us what exercise you're going to have us doing today.
Well, basically today, we know with time constraints, once you leave the college atmosphere, you go into corporate world, you go to your jobs, you don't have a lot of time to do some things. But we know it's very important for that balance with exercise and everything too. So we're going to be working on our abs today.
All right.
We got a little program, takes about 8 minutes. Some very controlled exercises, not too strenuous, but it takes about 8 minutes.
All right. Yep. So audience, go get your workout gear on. Let's get ready to exercise. That was a great workout. So I encourage you to get involved somewhere. Do whatever you need to do to feel complete. Reach out for help if you need help. So remember, getting fit is a lifestyle journey. You have to get in and get started. Get fit and be bold.